Hey guys, welcome to the Touchdown Table. I'm Ryan, that's Tyler, that's Jordan. And this is going to be another of our off-season outlook videos. We've been doing a lot of these, fun to do, fun to talk about what teams are going to try to do in the draft and in free agency to get better for 2021. This video is about the San Francisco 49ers, a team that had an off year plagued by a tough division, some injuries, and just a down year in general. But let's not forget, they were playing in the Super Bowl just a little over a year ago. So not far from contention by any means, in my opinion. We'll talk about it. What are they going to do? How can they get better? Who'd like to start us off?
Well, the reason we really made this video was because we wanted to talk about what they could possibly do at the quarterback position. So maybe just thinking, well, could they get Watson? You know, they have those first-round picks to do it. Do they want to put that into play? Because if they did get Watson, they'd end up having a Super Bowl caliber team. And if they want to maybe get a quarterback in the later rounds or try and get a free agent quarterback if possible. So let's start there as I continue to make my tips on this team. We'll get into that later, Tyler's tip segment. So you guys start with the quarterback as I put this list together.
All right, well, the quarterback right now, if for some reason you don't know, is Jimmy Garoppolo. And if you've been watching this channel, we've done a few videos just surrounding quarterback situations. I've talked about how I would love to see a quarterback go to the 49ers because I think they're a good team, except for Jimmy Garoppolo. I have not been high on Jimmy Garoppolo, not this year, not even last year when they went to the Super Bowl. I know he was hurt, but still, in that time, he actually was he healthy all of last year? I don't remember. But anyways, still, I was never really high on Garoppolo, even when the 49ers were playing much better. I just didn't see the talent there, and I continued to see that throughout this year. Again, he was hurt, which is also a problem in and of itself because he needs to stay on the field. So I think they need to go out and get another quarterback. There are options out there. I would love to see them get Watson. I think if they got Watson, they could be back in that Super Bowl, and that would be really fun, especially because the Rams, who are in the division, just got Matthew Stafford, and then the 49ers can go out and get Desean Watson, and then we can really get spicy in there because we got Russell Wilson and a lot of people like Kyler Murray. That would be a really interesting division to continue to watch. I think the 49ers team around that quarterback position is really good. I think there's a lot of potential there. There was a lot of injuries last year that made the team worse than they probably actually are. So I think if they are able to get a decent enough quarterback, like even if Carson Wentz would have been fine with this team, in my opinion. Of course, he's on the Colts, but someone like his level or higher, I think this 49ers team has a decent shot at bouncing back as long as they are able to retain players and keep people on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when you talk about the 49ers, it's a lot like what Jordan said. I mean, with Jimmy Garoppolo, there could be an upgrade there. I don't think he's terrible. I mean, they got to a Super Bowl with him, although that was primarily, a run-heavy offense, which it still is. But I really think we should be talking about how the 49ers are a position away from being really good, okay? Like, if you get a guy like Jordan mentioned, like Desean Watson, like, a Zach Wilson guy in the draft or something, or maybe trade for Derek Carr or something, I don't know. But if you get a guy like that with an already promising team, get him healthy, get some more receivers. I mean, you already have Brandon Ayuk, who had a good rookie year, and Deebo Samuel. So I think if they get a guy like Desean Watson, they are 100% Super Bowl contenders. They might have to give up a lot to do it, with that being draft picks, and they might have to give up one of these solid defensive players we'll have, which we'll talk about their defense in a second, because that's always been good. But if they get healthy and they get a franchise quarterback, they are absolutely Super Bowl contenders. Even if they stick with Jimmy G, which I don't expect personally, but if they are deciding to keep Jimmy G, I think they could be decent. I don't think he'll do horrible, but I think if they really want to take that step and get back to the Super Bowl, it's got to be a trade up in the draft or a trade for Desean Watson.
Just a disclaimer, by the way, they do have Josh Rosen on their team.
They do.
So
he's I think he's the third string. They have C.J. Beathard too, right?
Yeah. Well, they have him right now as the fourth on ESPN.
And Mullins, of course.
Yeah, and of course Mullins. I actually like Beathard better than Mullins when he's playing. That's just me watching the 49ers. But anyways, just thought that was a fun thing to throw out. Also, another fun thing to throw out. As Bears fans, Kevin White was someone we drafted high. He's on this team right now. Kevin White, the wide receiver.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought he was on the Cardinals.
Yeah, I did too, honestly. But last year we saw, or 2 years ago I should say, we saw the 49ers obviously get to the Super Bowl, and a lot of it was because of their defense. Now they have some guys that are going to be leaving. A big one is Richard Sherman, who I believe will, I mean, we haven't confirmed, they might still keep him, but it looks like he'll be gone. So there's going to be needs there as well to fill. You look at the defensive line and they're set. They drafted Javon Kinlaw last year. Nick Bosa should be healthy this year, hopefully. nothing happens to his ACL like it did last year. That was
Or
very
any other body part.
or any other body part. But the secondary is something that could also be improved, and I'm currently making that part of my tips right now. So
Yeah, so we talked about improvements. Let's just get into some good things about this roster real quick. And I think the best thing about this roster is their running back position. I think they are stacked. As Ryan mentioned, last year's team, they got as far as they did because of the fantastic run game that they had. They have a bunch of studs there. I think Coleman is going to be a free agent. He's not even on this depth chart right now that I'm looking at. But Raheem Mostert, he's constantly banged up, but when he's in, he does good stuff. Same with Jeff Wilson, Jerick McKinney, and JaMychal Hasty, who's a rookie. He did some decent things this year as well. These guys are really good, and this 49ers backfield is really just whoever has a hot hand. And with four guys like this, and if you include Coleman, last year I know he might be gone. I'm not quite sure about that yet. But with those 4/5 guys being this good, there's a decent shot that one of them is going to have a hot hand on one day. So you get them in there and you just ride them for a while, especially when you didn't have the greatest quarterback. You had to ride the running game, and now they've improved the wide receiving position a bit more as well, which will certainly help in the future, right, Ryan?
Absolutely, it will. And one thing I want to hit on is that run game you mentioned is a great part of their team, but they also have been running behind a great offensive line. Part of that great offensive line, Trent Williams, who is set to be a free agent. So will he stay? Will he go? And if he goes, that's a position they'll certainly have to address because they acquired him in that trade from Washington to beef up their offensive line after Joe Staley retired. But now he's going to be a free agent, so I'm eager to see if they bring him back, or if not, it'll probably have to be a left tackle in the draft. There's some good linemen this year, or another free agent target.
that's once again, you guys are talking about them as I'm making the parts of my tips here. We will get to that segment in a second. But yeah, that line is going to be important because I would assume that he would be gone this year. I just don't think they're going to want to renew that contract, especially if they're going to try and build their defense back up. Maybe go out and get another wide receiver or something to try and implement this offense or make a big trade for Watson, whatever it is. I don't see a big re-sign there. So I would assume we might see them go to the draft for that position.
Mm-hmm. They definitely could. I agree. And I mean, they're picking 12th overall, I believe it is. So, I mean, if it's a quarterback, it's probably a trade up. If not, they probably stay put and maybe take a cornerback or a lineman.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, we've hit on a lot of it so far. I think we just do need to talk about the defensive line I mentioned a bit earlier, but it's really the strength of their team, and I'll hand that one to you guys just to talk about the greatness that hopefully they'll have next year is if they are all healthy with some players still young going into later on in their career and hopefully going to get better.
Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas, DJ Jones, and Nick Bosa are the guys. They're the edge rushers and the tackles on that defensive line. And most of those guys are people that if you watch football, you know who they are. They're really good. And they're young in a lot of spots too. I don't know how old Solomon Thomas and Eric Armstead are, but I know Nick Bosa is young. He's going to be a guy of the future to continue to watch. As we mentioned before, he was injured last year. Continue to watch him throughout the rest of his career. Do some really dominant things, just like his brother right now is doing in Los Angeles. Although he's been hurt too. It's something in the family that just runs with the Bosa's getting hurt. It's in the DNA, I guess. But also the linebacker position, pretty good. I don't know the one guy, Demetrius Flanagan-Fulls, that much, but Fred Warner, many times this year, had been compared by many notable head coaches. They said that he might be the best linebacker in the league. Fred Warner definitely played very well this year. I don't know about the best linebacker in the league. Personally, I like Roquan Smith because he's on my team, but that's bias. I'll admit it. But Fred Warner really does some great things, and I'm sure Tyler's going to talk about the secondary in just a second. But you got to mention those front six guys that I mentioned. They are really, really good. And the secondary just could use some work.
Yeah, and just one thing to add on, Armstead is set to be a free agent. So listed behind him in the depth chart currently is D Ford, the former Chief, known for infamously jumping off sides in that AFC Championship game. I mean, I don't know that, D Ford's not a bad player. They already have a good defensive unit, so they probably wouldn't feel too pressured to overpay for Armstead if that's what it came down to, but just something to note there. But regardless, they're still going to have a stacked defensive unit, although it's going to be a little weird not seeing Robert Saleh pumped up on that sideline whenever they make a play because he's with the Jets now as their coach. Just something interesting to
One
note.
thing that was not mentioned, Javon Kinlaw is second on this depth chart, but he is also going to be a force to be reckoned with on this defense.
He's good.
Yeah, talking about the defense once again, Ryan brought up. Do you guys know who their new defensive coordinator is going to be? Because those are some big
I'm not
shoes
sure.
to fill.
I can try and find that out.
Yeah, please do that because it's got to be quite the hype guy. We got both guys on it. Let's see who can get there first. Ryan's got the iPad now.
D'Amico Ryan.
D'Amico Ryan.
Oh, that was a heated race. If you guys couldn't see it from that angle, but yes, I don't know much about him, but like I said, he's got big shoes to fill with this team, with this Kyle Shanahan-led offense. If they can get the right weapons implemented into this team, we know they can be dangerous. They were dangerous just 2 years ago. It's just going to be seeing if they could repeat that.
Absolutely.
He was their former linebackers coach.
Okay.
So promotion, essentially.
Yes.
Yes. You guys have any last notes before I get into this? I just got to type a couple more things. So, if there's anything else you guys want to hit on about the team, any stories or something, we could talk about Watson if that's important. We could go back to that before.
I mean, we could maybe do that after your segment because I don't want to take up too much time. I know you're just about ready.
He's just about ready. I'll just fill it in. Robbie Gould plays kicker. Mitch Wisnowski is the punter and holder. Brandon Ayuk is punt returner, kick returner. Jared McKinnon and long snapper. You got to give their credit. Tepper. They have a decent special team unit. Wisnowski and Robbie Gould really do some good things. So it's always important to go into the special teams, and right now it's pretty strong for them.
All right, so let's just get into my segment here. I'm going to add a couple things on afterwards, but we've talked about a lot of this. I'm just going to recap and plug in some players that could fit with this 49ers team. So we started off, first of all, welcome to Tyler's Tips segment. We do this every offseason outlook video where I just make a list of what moves I think the teams could make this time. We're talking about the 49ers, obviously, because you're watching this video. But now let's restart. So I said earlier, right at the beginning of the video, there could be a play for Desean Watson in this one. And yeah, that's a lot of draft picks to give up. But for a team, like Ryan said, if you're one quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender, why not give up a couple first-round picks for Desean Watson? Because with him, you've got him signed for a couple years, and you're set for a couple years. You still got a young core defensively, especially on that line. Go out and make a play for him. And then I also said, if you don't make that play for him, I don't know if you're going to go try it. Yeah, I don't know if you'd go out and sign another free agent. So maybe look to the draft. I said Mac Jones or Trey Lance would probably be the two guys that would be there. I believe they pick around number 13. I don't know.
I think they have 12. I think. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure.
It's something like that. So I would assume there'll still be quarterbacks on the board at that point. I don't know if they'd make a trade up. I wouldn't be that aggressive unless there's a guy they really like. But I could see Mac Jones fitting this offense as well.
I could see them really liking Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I oh my God. If
I would agree, but that's a big trade.
Yeah, that's a huge trade up, probably 10 spots.
Yeah. Or even Trey Lance as well. I think both of those guys, I feel like Shanahan would like just maybe a pure pocket passer or someone he can have more fun with and roll Trey Lance out of the pocket and get those explosive different plays. Because Mac Jones can, we watched him last year. If you guys watch college football, he was great, but he wasn't the most dynamic of players.
No.
Trey Lance.
Good decision making though.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I think that's really undebatable. But, yeah, so those two guys at the quarterback, and I said maybe a swap or QB trade, like we're hearing Bridgewater stuff. They wanted to get rid of Garoppolo's contract, and if the Panthers just wanted to get rid of Bridgewater, they could just swap. And I don't know if they'd want that contract or not, but that was just an idea I thought of. And then we had to talk about that secondary. Going out in the secondary, they could use help with the cornerback position and the safety position. Therefore, I threw one of each in just to give some options here. Anthony Harris, I started with at the safety position, will be a nice fit for them. I feel like the 49ers will be a pretty good spot for free agents to want to go to. So they could land a free agent like this if they really wanted to. Like I said, that's a big free agent they have to go out and sign, meaning that they probably would not be able to re-sign their offensive line to keep it the way that it has been in the past couple of years. And then Troy Hill is another one. I don't know if he's going to leave the Rams or not, but he's kind of a lower name on the totem pole, but a guy that stood out last year and could make a bigger impact.
He'll probably
if he was,
stay.
Yeah, I maybe he will, but he might want to go inside the division.
Team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially now they have Stafford for sure.
Yep.
And then obviously looking to the draft as well. I didn't throw any examples for the draft just because I was on time restraints for that. But, you're obviously, later on in the draft, you're going to be looking for one of your biggest needs on the team. And then also, speaking of the draft, the line, they could use some help with that if they do, in fact, lose members of their offensive line. Maybe in the later rounds, just because I thought maybe in case they're picking Mac Jones or Trey Lance, that they could get a guy like Jackson Carman or Josh Myers. I picked those two guys because I've watched both of them. Jackson Carman being the lineman at Clemson who helped Trevor Lawrence out tremendously this year, and then Josh Myers being from Ohio State. Both of those would be nice ones for this team to plug in and place, and possibly they could even go to the first round if they wanted to. Players that could be there at the offensive line would be Christian Darrisaw, Elijah Vera Tucker, maybe Rashawn Slater. I doubt Penei Sewell would be there.
No way.
Just some examples of who could possibly be in there so if they did decide to go that route. And then lastly, I was vague with this one. I just said wide receivers ... because they do have a good wide receiver core. They just drafted Brandon Ayuk last year.
They're young, but they could use some help.
Yeah, I know that they're very high on him, but maybe getting a veteran in there could help as well. I mean, I don't know if they'll be in play for like the big wide receivers like the Allen Robinsons, but maybe a smaller wide receiver, not physically, but like in terms of his name, maybe as well. They do kind of like those smaller like slot receiver type of guys, but getting a veteran in there to help with this younger receiver core could also be another thing that could help. Maybe just one. I mean, and then you guys mentioned running back, they're set. Talked about the quarterback, wide receivers, they should be good, and then just addressing that secondary is really where I think this 2021 offseason should go with these 49ers. And if they do that, even just some of these things, I think they're Super Bowl contenders. If they even do just a couple, I think there might already be in the conversation if they do decide to keep Garoppolo, which would not be the worst thing in the world either, as you guys mentioned. So I'm going to wrap up that segment there.
I didn't say that.
I mean, I think they should pursue better options, but I do think they could still be a decent football team.
They made the Super Bowl.
We've seen it. We don't have to believe. We can know because they did it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, obviously Jimmy Garoppolo is not the most ideal candidate to be there, especially after the injuries we've been seeing. He's not playing very many games, and when he is, he's not at his best, and they have a big contract. So ideally, you would want to get him out of there. But if they do have to stick with him, I mean, he's kind of like a guy like Ryan mentioned with the Colts. If now that Carson Wentz is there, he wouldn't be a guy that gets him to a Super Bowl like single-handedly, but they could get to a Super Bowl with him. So I obviously do like. I don't think the 49ers are going to be a team that just completely drops off after making the Super Bowl. They had a rough year with injuries last year, and hopefully next year they will be back because it was fun watching them when they were at their best.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it that much.
Well, I did. I picked them to win the Super Bowl, and they disappointed me. But then I got this one right, so it doesn't matter. So, yeah, that's it for the 49ers. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to comment down below. We always say very important to comment on these videos, especially comment on every video, but these videos especially. We want to hear your opinions, 49ers fans, fans of other teams. Go down in the comments section. Tell us what we said wrong, if you think you disagree with anything we said, or anything you want to add on to what the 49ers should do in the offseason to get themselves back into the playoffs and back to a possible Super Bowl. So yeah, like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell to be notified every time we post a new video. Go check out our podcast anywhere you can find podcasts. In our Instagram, the Touchdown Table on Instagram, we post there pretty occasionally. So thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to do all things I said, please. And with that, we will see you guys later.
See ya.